There is a bit of news coming out of Saudi, and Ben Jacobs, Saudi football expert, is right across it. Good afternoon, Ben.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you doing?
Good,
Yeah,
thank you. I'm sure Liverpool fans and others really be interested in this. They made a big offer last year. They're not making quite as big an offer this year, but your understanding is that Saudi clubs, more than one, could be going back in to try and tempt him away from Liverpool in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So the offer that you're referring to came from Al Ittihad last summer and was for 100 million guaranteed, 50 million in bonuses. Now the centralized Saudi deal makers are thinking more around the 70 million mark, with bonuses still to be determined. So it might reach about 100 million, maybe 10 million or so less. So therefore 100 million euros, something in that total ballpark. And the reason for the reduction, if we can call it that, is because naturally Salah has only got a year left on his contract come this summer. And also there's no Club World Cup in Saudi Arabia like there was when Al Ittihad are trying. Now, some might be confused because we hear a lot about the PIF controlled clubs and everything being centralized. So to clarify on that, the Ministry of Sport lead along with centralized PIF figures, and then the club is determined last. So it might be Al Ittihad, they'll certainly put their hand up and say they want Mo Salah, but it might be the Saudi champions, Al Hilal. I call them champions because they're miles clear, so they are going to win the league this season, and they're the ones that are going to be competing in the new expanded Club World Cup in 2025. So they had Salah on their list, but number 3 last summer, behind Neymar, who they got, and Lionel Messi, who they failed to sign. And Al Hilal are probably the more likely destination at the moment, but maybe Karim Benzema will be able to change perspectives, because he, of course, is at Al Ittihad. He's not that happy. He wants somebody else to come in and score some goals. So the offer is going to be lower, but there's no doubt Saudi will try. And we wait and see whether Mo Salah wants to stay on in a post-Klopp era, or, of course, leave this summer and then allow Liverpool that big fee.
I reckon from Liverpool point of view, they'll take the money. Because, he's a wonderful, wonderful player, but he's going to be diminishing returns. I think he already slightly is.
At 31 years old, at 100 million.
Still a brilliant player, but if you can get 70 to 100 million, I think you take it. Whether he'd want to go there is another matter, though. I mean, all right, Cristiano seems to be really enjoying it, but I'm not sure anybody else is. And it'd be interesting to see how many players they can attract. Of course, money is everything, but it'd be interesting. It might be a different window this summer, Ben.
Yeah, a different window, but I think the Saudi deal makers would argue 5 or 6 marquee signings not only helps the league grow, but this is a long-term project. It wasn't just about last summer. It's a build-up to Vision 2030, and that's not just the SPL. It's also everything around it, making sure that sport is sport, but also entertainment, and creates jobs and promotes a healthy lifestyle. And then, of course, you add 4 years because Saudi Arabia will host the World Cup in 2034. So Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, Casemiro, Rafael Varane will all be targets, and the expectation from Saudi is that they'll have 20 elite level targets, and they'll aim to try and get 5 or 6 of them. I think Salah's a different situation to, say, Jordan Henderson as well. No doubt they'll speak because they're former teammates, but Henderson had to adapt to a culture that Salah won't, because he speaks the language, he understands the region, and that may help Saudi Arabia. And then if he stays at Liverpool under a new manager for 1 season, 2 things can happen. 1 is he leaves on a free transfer and Saudi wait, or 2 is, from Liverpool's perspective, they reduce the diminished return by maybe offering him a 1-year extension, and then come 2025, if Salah then wants to leave, the Saudis are still in the same position, and Liverpool might still get the same fee, even though he'll be a couple of years older.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
And you feel that the Saudis won't really break cover before the end of the season? They don't, with Liverpool still fighting on several fronts. They don't want to derail the situation there.
That's my understanding, that the offer made by centralised deal makers on behalf of Al Ittihad was done so to Mike Gordon, the FSG chief, and it was a very amicable conversation. And to protect the relationship with Liverpool, the Saudis walked away because they realised that even a second offer wasn't going to change Liverpool or Salah's mind. And now the deal makers know timing is key again. They don't want Salah to be making headlines at the same time as Klopp's farewell. And they're also aware that Salah's not going to make any decision now. He'll wait, he'll understand the Liverpool project and who the new manager is. He'll focus on seeing what he can win between now and the end of the season, and then he'll decide. So the Saudi deal makers don't have to really consider Salah and negotiations, because they kind of did all of that legwork when they made the offer on behalf of Al Ittihad. It will be a 3-year contract. Again, the wages will be relatively similar, even if the club changes. So they can sit tight and ultimately determine when the right approach is to Liverpool to make sure that they stand the best chance of success. And they may not even make an approach to Liverpool if first the Salah camp tell them they've got to wait another year. So I don't expect this to resolve itself in April. I think we're going to have to wait until May, or more likely the off-season, to make sure that this doesn't make headlines and overshadow the end of Liverpool's season.
We're nearly out of time, but briefly, you're very well connected at Chelsea, and we've been talking a lot about FFP today, and it has gone a little bit quiet around Chelsea, and there was some talk of financial sanctions going back to the Abramovich years. What's your understanding? What's the latest on that? Do we have any sort of timeline?
Yeah, just briefly, if we can be brief on PSR, because I think a lot of people need a lifetime to understand it. Two different areas here. One's historical alleged breaches under Abramovich, still being investigated, is the short answer, but no charges yet. The second is current PSR in the 3-year cycle. And obviously, Everton and Forest charged and points deductions. Chelsea haven't been, but we need to wait and see about the next financial year, because that's when there's 3 years of clear late Bowley, and the year that drops off is the COVID adjusted year, and the year that comes on 30th of June 2024 is the year in which Chelsea have this season had no European football and spent 400 million last summer. So Chelsea say they're still within PSR, but we have to wait ultimately for the books, and we have to understand what they may need to offload between now and that financial cutoff. But for now, Chelsea are okay.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.